Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is Watson Michael from Ceylon Institute of English and Leadership. And today we got with us Mr. Terry Paule, a great entrepreneur, right? So Terry has amassed over 35 plus years of experience as a serial entrepreneur with hands-on approach to building startups and their brands both in Australia and internationally. He has an impressive track record of having founded and funded several successful business ventures, right? So he's a non-executive director of SproutX, non-executive director of Agtuary, and he's the co-founder and director of TorchT products. And he's the founder and executive director of Myco, makers of BioCheese. And he's the co-founder and CEO of a great company called Botanical Water Technologies Limited. And he's the co-founder and chairman of Findex. So Terry, how are you doing today?
Very good, Watson. Thanks very much for having me as well. And it is a long introduction. Once you hear it back, you realize it is a busy life. But thanks for having me.
It's such an honor, Terry, to have you. So Terry, could you tell us why is sustainability important these days?
Yeah, well, Watson, I mean, sustainability is everywhere in the news, as we all know. You can't pick up a newspaper or listen to a podcast or watch a program on Netflix without somebody talking around sustainable and renewable, whichever way. But the way I like to describe sustainability is it's the new digital. That's how I like to pronounce it. Where if you think about 30 years ago, and I grew up in a pre-digital world where fax machines and mobile phones were new inventions. And if you sort of fast forward into the 80s with computers and then networking of those computers and then the internet itself and then things like Wi-Fi, whilst we all imagine they're just something that exists, it didn't exist once upon a time. And the reason I mention that, Watson, is that if you think of a pre-digital world and how the last 30 years have changed, we've now reached another milestone on our planet around sustainability, where sustainable ways of living need to be embedded into our everyday lives. And it will change the next 10, 20, 30 or 50 years. And for some people don't understand the concept. They're in denial. They don't believe that the world is warming and we need to do things differently. We need to eat differently and live differently. And unless we embrace that, it's like saying that I'm not interested in a digital world. Imagine now if we didn't have our iPhones, how we would live. And it's the same way that if we don't embrace sustainability, then our lives will be, not as good as what they can possibly be.
Absolutely. Brilliant explanation. Thank you very much for that. So the next one I wanted to ask you is why is leadership important in organizations?
Well, that's if you Google leadership, you'll see so much written about it. It's sort of an intangible thing, but I always like to view leadership as a gift. It's a gift. It's a gift given to you by other people. Often you hear people say, "I'm a leader," and it's not something that you should normally do. And good leadership is through actions. It's around behaviors. It's around how we perform and how people view us. And then leadership is something that other people want to follow. So that is often, and it can be the way I like to do it personally. I'm involved in businesses where we have thousands of people that work in some of our businesses here in Australia and New Zealand. And I think a good leader has certain things. They do what they say they will do. They respect people's opinions. They support people, through their own endeavors. They set high standards as well. These are all hallmarks of leadership. And just finally, Watson, with leadership, it can come in many, many different styles. I think most people imagine leaders as being charismatic, people they often see on television or they read about, and they have these
Yeah.
fabulous lives. And
Mm-hmm.
yes, of course, there are charismatic leaders. We tend to view them more in political and like
Yeah.
politicians. But leadership can be very basic. That can,
Yeah.
the best teams that you build often have very
Mm-hmm.
anonymous leaders, people that
Absolutely.
that don't have this huge charisma,
Yeah.
but can motivate people to be the best version of themselves. That's probably a very good way to put it. That they help people to become the best version of themselves, and this is often a really good hallmark of leaders and leadership.
Wow. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you very much for that. So let's talk about Botanical Water Technologies, right? So it's one of my favorite things actually to talk about these days, and especially sustainability is involved. So it says we create the world's most sustainable water source. Can you explain that?
Yeah, look, it's sustainability, as we mentioned, is everywhere. But the way we like to describe our botanical water business, and
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people viewing or listening to this podcast, they'll
Yes.
probably wonder, what does this mean? And the
Yeah.
way we like to describe it is, we've found a new source of water, or
Okay.
the best way to say it is, we grow water. Those three words, we grow
Wow.
water. And what we mean by that is,
Uh-huh.
up until the invention of botanical water, which is a new source of water to the world,
Okay.
people would catch rainwater, we would drink river and spring water, or
Mm-hmm.
we would take water from below the ground in an aquifer. These were traditionally the way we saw water.
Yes.
But if you also think about it, fruit and vegetables, sugar
Mm-hmm.
cane, plants, if you like, are
Yes.
95% water. So if we could find a way to catch the water, to harvest the water that
Uh-huh.
naturally occurs in plants, that lives
Yes.
in plants,
Uh-huh.
then we would have found a new source of water. And that's what botanical water is. We take, or we catch, and we purify the water that lives in fruit, in vegetables, in
Wow.
sugarcane, in plants, and we
Wow.
create the world's most sustainable water. In fact, this water that I'm drinking here,
Huh?
or I can show you in a bottled version. It's probably not easy with these virtual backgrounds, but that is
Yeah.
botanical water in a bottle. This water
Yeah.
lived in a tomato, it lived
Wow.
in sugarcane, it lived in carrots, it lived in grapes, it lived in apples. We can make it from all fruit and vegetables and plants.
Wow. Pretty impressive. Pretty impressive. Right. So there are three brands actually. One is called Botanical Water Exchange. Other one is called Botanical Water Foundation. And the third one is called Aqua Botanical Water. Could you please tell more about those?
Yeah, look, they're not actually brands. There's only one brand there, and that's the Aqua
Okay.
Botanical name. So that's the name of botanical water. So when
Okay.
you go to a supermarket, or you buy this water in Australia
Mm-hmm.
online, you'll Google or order Aqua Botanical. That's a brand name. And in
Okay.
fact, next month in September,
Mm-hmm.
we'll be rolling out our Aqua Botanical brand in the USA for the first
Wow.
time.
Congrats.
Yeah, thanks, Watson. It'll be in Sprouts and Bristol Farms in California, and
Wow.
coincidentally, right in the middle of a Californian drought. So it's
Yeah.
you know the middle of summer. The
Wow.
other the other two brands, as you put it, are actually parts of our business. So
Okay.
Botanical Water is the main business. So this
Mm-hmm.
this is the company that owns the invention of being able to grow water from fruit and vegetables. So it is sort of the main company, and it
Wow.
operates the equipment that we use to
Mm-hmm.
process this water. It also owns our exchange, a botanical water exchange, and what that is a bit like when you find 3 trillion liters of water. So this is a
Yes.
new source of water,
Mm-hmm.
and we believe that there's something like 3 trillion liters. That's 3,000 billion liters of this water gets thrown away around the world at the
Oh,
moment. I'll explain that a little bit more, how that
sure.
works.
Sure.
That's the equivalent, Watson, of 1.2 million
Wow.
Olympic-sized swimming pools of water.
Wow.
So I'll explain how that works.
Sure.
So when you make tomato ketchup, or you make sugar,
Okay.
or you concentrate fruit and vegetables,
Mm-hmm.
these industries, and there's thousands of factories all over the world that make sugar, that make tomato ketchup, that make these things.
Okay.
They use a large evaporative process to take the water, the evaporative condensate,
Okay.
from the sugar cane or from the tomato.
Okay.
So what they do at the moment with the condensate, the evaporative water, is they throw it away at the
Wow.
back of the factory, often to environmental detriment.
Oh.
So our invention, what botanical water is we catch this evaporative condensate and we process it through our manufacturing unit, our water harvest unit, which sits in a 40-foot shipping container.
Yeah.
And we create the world's most sustainable water that I'm drinking here. It's
Wow.
clean, environmentally green, and safe drinking water. So you can imagine we've taken basically a waste product, which was the water that was inside fruit and vegetables.
Yes.
And we have purified it to make botanical water. And as I mentioned, the botanical water brand is Aqua Botanical. That's this water. So if you're in the US, in California, or if you're in Australia, you can buy this online and be drinking the water that was sitting in a carrot or a tomato last week or yesterday even. So the final part, the final company that you mentioned there is Botanical Water Exchange.
Yep.
And why that company was built was when you find 3 trillion liters of water, that's pretty exciting. That's a marvelous invention.
Yep.
And that was invented here in Australia almost a decade ago. So in Australia, we've been making this water for nearly 10 years, which is a long time.
Yeah.
And we're now sharing it with the world. But what kept me up at night, so I couldn't sleep at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was thinking, my God, we've found 3 trillion liters of water. This is huge. This can change people's lives all over the world. In some parts of the world where we can't find clean and safe drinking water, we now have a new source of water. A sugar mill can now become like a new well or a new fountain of water.
Yeah.
But how are we going to catch this? How are we going to own it? How are we going to make it something special?
Yes.
And it dawned on me, the thing that has changed our lives in the last 10 years are platforms. If you think, as I jokingly say, there's a guy called Jeff who started selling books online, and he built a business called Amazon. This is Jeff Bezos.
Yes.
And if you think of other businesses like Uber, where we connect the driver to a passenger on a platform.
Yes.
Or Airbnb, or even Facebook, or Meta as it's known now, which is connecting on social media people.
Yeah.
This is what inspired us to build the world's first botanical water exchange, where we could connect somebody that makes sugar to somebody that needs drinking water or an ingredient water on our platform, a bit like Uber.
Yes.
So we've built a company now in conjunction, in partnership with Fujitsu, who are our global technology partners.
Okay.
We built the world's first botanical water exchange to allow us to connect the maker of botanical water to the user of botanical water. And the final part, Watson, and I know there's a lot of information here for your listeners or viewers. But they can Google botanical water or visit our website and read a little bit more. There's a lot of stories there. But the final part, which is the most exciting part for me personally, is that each time we trade water, each time somebody makes botanical water, a sugar mill, and sells it to Coca-Cola or somebody that needs water to make a soda, we charge 1% of that transaction and we give that in water to our Botanical Water Foundation. We've built a charitable foundation, which is like a virtual silo of water.
Wow.
And we will gift this water to the world's poorest people, the world's most vulnerable people, at no cost. You'll see behind me a sign that says 125.
25.
We want to positively impact 100 million of the world's most vulnerable people by 2025 by gifting water into communities, so that, for example, in parts of the world like India, which has 18% of the world's population, but only has 4% of the world's water, we'll be able to, and often you have girls walking long distances to visit wells to bring the water back for the family. We'll be able now to give free, clean, environmentally green and safe drinking water to these communities, paid for by some of the world's biggest companies when they're buying water on our exchange. So if you can imagine, it's like a tax on those transactions. So when Coca-Cola buys water from a sugar mill, some water will go to the foundation, which we can gift to local communities so that girls can go to school and not walk long distances to fetch water for the family. So it's a very, very important part of what we're doing.
Brilliant. Superb, right? Just love it, right? Sustainability at its best. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So this because these days we see like most of the water bottles do not contain minerals as those are filtered or distilled, right? So what's the difference with botanical water, and how do you compare to competition, and how are you measuring the progress?
Yeah, look, the bottled water business, or the Aqua Botanical brand that we've discussed already, what happens with this water, because it comes from fruit and vegetables, it's a very hydrating water. It's heavier. It has the composition of the H2O. The O is an O18. It's very technical, but basically it means that it stays in your body longer.
Wow.
Which means when you sweat the lighter O, the H2O, the isotopic number.
Wow.
So this water stays in your body longer, and which means that it hydrates you for longer. So if you're working hard or training hard or playing hard, it means that this water is actually more hydrating for you. But also, what we do is we add 74 plant-based minerals. These minerals are like magnesium and other minerals, which means that it will actually be better for you. So this bottle of water I'm drinking has 74 plant-based minerals in there. It's a fabulous tasting product. It's won many awards around the world. It's won best water, most sustainable water, best new water concept. It's won awards all over the world. And here in Australia, it won Beverage of the Year in 2019. Out of all beverages, this is the first time that a water has won Beverage of the Year, because everyone says water is just like water, right? Well, it's not. This is a new and exciting type of water. And I guess that's why we're different on the shelf when you go to a supermarket to buy this water. All the other waters are either municipal water that has been purified, or spring water or river water. Whereas this water, once upon a time, lived in fruits and vegetables.
Wow. Superb. Brilliant, huh? We understand that there are some 3 ongoing projects. One is the tomato processor in California, USA. The next one is the tomato and carrot processor in Victoria, Australia. And the last one is the sugar processor in New South Wales, Australia. If you could elaborate on that.
Yeah, these are the 2 in Australia are where Botanical Water was first born. So it was so imagine now, Watson,
Yes.
We take water from fruit and vegetables and sugarcane.
Yeah.
And as you know, fruit and vegetables are seasonal.
Yes.
So like the seasons where the fruit is grown, our water is also seasonal. So
Wow.
we have two places we make water.
Okay.
In the south of Australia, in
Uh-huh.
Victoria, where I'm talking to you now,
Yes.
uh, we make water for maybe 8 months of the year from tomatoes. So this is our tomato water and our tomato relationship. We
Mm-hmm.
have a partnership with a large Japanese company called Kagome. That's with a K. Kagome.
Okay.
They're a huge business. They have tomato in the US. They also have
Mm-hmm.
tomato on the West Coast in India as well. They have
Wow.
a manufacturing. So when they stop growing tomatoes, we
Mm-hmm.
move our production further north to warmer weather here in Australia,
Yeah.
and we make it for about 6 months from sugar cane. And
Wow.
this is a different partnership with Sunshine Sugar is the name of the company, and
Uh-huh.
they are also owned by Australia's largest private agribusiness. They're 50% owned by a company called Manildra,
Wow.
and the other 50% is owned by the farmers from the growers. So
Wow.
we partner with this company
Uh-huh.
for 6 months of the year to make water in the north. The
Brilliant.
final one there is a very, very, very exciting project, and
Mm-hmm.
you're going to read a lot about this in the next 2 or 3 months. In
Wow.
fact, CNN are going to do a documentary on this when we're over in America in about 3 weeks' time. We're
Brilliant.
actually filming in a place called Los Banos, which is in the Central Valley. It's sort of in the northern part, if you like, of California,
Mm-hmm.
where we are partnering with a company called Ingomar. Now, Ingomar is the
Uh-huh.
second largest tomato processor in the US.
Wow.
And as you know, Watson, the second
Yeah.
largest anything in the US is big because everything in the US is big.
Absolutely.
350 million people. So they're a fantastic partner.
Wow.
This one factory called Ingomar,
Uh-huh.
they can generate 1 billion liters of our water, 1
Uh-huh.
billion liters of our water in 90 days. So
Wow.
they start to harvest their tomatoes on around the 4th of July, which is a big day in the US. As you know, it's
Yes.
American Independence Day.
Absolutely.
And they run for 24 hours, 7 days a week
Wow.
for around 90 days. This is a normal year for them. So we will be making our first water on the 9th of September
Mm-hmm.
in Los Banos, in California, and at a very difficult time in the middle of a California desert, drought.
Yeah.
California is in a huge drought, as you're probably reading in the
Yep.
newspapers and online.
Correct.
It's their biggest drought for probably 1,200 years.
Mm.
It's massive, and it's quite scary actually.
Very.
That if they don't get a lot of snow in this coming winter, in the
Mm-hmm.
US winter that's coming,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then this time next year that California could be in a lot of serious trouble with their dams at record lows
True.
and with the inability to pump water for hydroelectricity. So somewhere like 40 million people in San Francisco may not
Mm.
have enough electricity, or the Colorado River, which is where most, something like 30 or 40%
Yeah.
of America's food is grown in
Yeah.
California.
Yeah.
There may not be enough water to grow, their own food. So this is
Yeah.
quite a serious time. So
Well,
it's great that we've been able to find at least 1 billion litres of a new source of water, which will help the
absolutely.
situation. It
Abs-
certainly won't fix it, but it's very, very exciting for our company,
Mm.
to be launching in the US in
Yeah.
about 3 weeks' time.
Wow. You're doing a phenomenal job, Jerry, actually, right? And your company. Right.
It's a big project. It's a big project, Watson. It's something very, very special.
Absolutely. And all I could say is we hope this project becomes a big success. And globally, with the current climate crisis, we're having a climate crisis. We can see that the droughts in Europe as well. So I'm quite sure, and with blessings, Botanical Water will do very well with time to come. And
thank you, Watson. That's
great.
I hope so.
Definitely. And Terry, since from your vast experience and all, any final message you would like to give all the people that seek motivation and who want to chase their dreams?
Well, that's a big question, Watson, but I do a lot of mentoring, particularly of younger people. I love to mentor younger people. Sometimes people say to me, "Oh, younger people, you're wasting your time talking to them." And I don't see it that way. I actually see it quite the reverse.
Okay.
In fact, when I mentor, Gen Z, millennials in particular, I find a reverse mentoring happens. I actually learn more from them.
Yeah.
Probably than they get from me sometimes, and I think it's a wonderful thing. And what I often like to say to people, particularly younger people, is that the world can get very complicated sometimes. We have this connectivity, that social media, a lot of noise going on in our lives, and sometimes we can get confused. And the message I like to say to them, it's something I've done certainly in business for the last 40 years, nearly 40 years, is I always say to people to find the connection between mind, body, and soul. There's those three things, mind, body, and soul. And if we can find the balance between our mental toughness, our being clever, our bodies and the way we go about living our lives, and also our soul, a spiritual side to ourselves, where it wraps all of the things together and makes sense often of this. We can get lost in this. So I say to people, focus when you have problems in your life, or you have uncertainty in your life, focus on the things you can control. So if you can imagine the world being a circle, and we are a smaller circle inside this world, the more we focus on ourselves and the things we can control, the bigger our smaller circle gets. It gets bigger and bigger, and we gain in confidence and we gain in momentum. We will never touch the outside circle, because the world will always have things we can't control. We can't control the weather. We can't control the dollar. We can't control our neighbor. We can't control our friends.
True.
So don't focus there. Focus on ourselves. Focus on the things you can control. And all of a sudden, we gain momentum. Things start to happen in our lives. Good things happen. And we build on this. And we also understand that when things don't go well in our lives, this is where we learn as people. This is where we grow. We grow when things go wrong, not when they're going right. When they go right, we have confidence, we have momentum. But when things go wrong, that's where we develop as people. That's where we grow and we learn to be stronger, to be smarter, to be better. So that's the message I'd love to leave with your viewers as my final message.
Wonderful words, really inspiring. So Terry, thank you very much for taking time to do this interview with us. And we wish you all the very best with your company, and blessings to you.
Thank you, Watson. Pleasure was all mine, and look forward to doing it again at some stage.
Definitely. It's an honor.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
Bye.